All right. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Pocket Dimension, where we paint all the things. All the things. I don't care if it's Warhammer or D&D or anything like that. We paint all the things. I'm not really particular about brand or no brand, 3D printed or mass marketed. I am here to paint all the things. I hope you're here to paint all the things too. So, here we go. I guess I'm going to be working on this blue dragon that I've been working on for the last couple of weeks here. This is the monthly monster on my Twitch channel. So, if you're watching on YouTube, that's great. But the only way you can get this is by joining the Twitch channel as a follower. And I've also got a giveaway on my Twitch channel when we hit 400 followers. Is going to be my Warcrow set. If you're following my Instagram, you'll see that I do have a Warcrow set for a giveaway when we hit 400 followers on Twitch. Now, evidently YouTube doesn't like that, so we're not going to be doing any giveaways on YouTube. But if you come over, anyhow, yeah, so basically it's not so much that I'm driving to get that. It's more of like when we get there, and if you want to help grow the channel, it's more altruistic than anything. So, tired. Long day. Good day. Got a lot accomplished on a particular job. So, anyhow, alright, so there we are. We got this, we got that. So, alright. A little purple here. Purple, purple, purple. Pink. Nope, I want purple. Let's use Vince Venturella's Royal Purple here on these wings, as we do. That's the plan. This is a very difficult figure to paint because it's very closed. So I'm going to zoom out here. This is the digital zoom, by the way. It is a digital zoom because I'm using my hands. So, there you have it. Alright, so hopefully everyone is watching and you had a good day today. First day back off of a 3-day weekend if you're here in the States. So, we'll get a little of this Royal Purple out of the Signature Series from Pro Acryl. I like this particular purple. It's very in the middle of the road kind of a purple. Some purples are cold. Some purples are warm. Some purples edge towards red. Some more towards the blue side of the spectrum. So that's where we get the warm versus cold concept of purple. Then, of course, you have pinks and you have magentas and various things like that. So, all right. So let's go ahead and we'll get a sloppy, floppy old brush here, and we'll throw a little Merlin's Magic Medium into the purple instead of going straight for the water. Water is perfectly viable for thinning up your paints, but personally, I really do like Cuttlefish Colors, Merlin's Magic Medium. I don't get any kind of consideration from them. I just like their stuff, so there you have it. I just like it. And you can see how it breaks that paint down just a little bit and kind of thins it out. So that's kind of cool. All right, we're going to add a little purple here, darken that up just a little bit on the top sides. And we're going to touch up, we're going to hit it up with some blue later on. So today was a pretty good day at work, I gotta say. Got a lot done. But there's a few issues that I may have to pull off that job due to environmental problems. We'll just leave it at that. No problems with the customers, no problems with the job, really. Just some things you happen to find when you're working in a house. Alright, so now that's a little bit on the thinner side, and that's okay. You can always thin down, you can't always thick up. But if you have it thin, you can always go over it again. So that's really not a bad thing. So I'm just wrestling with these angles here. So it is a bit of a weird angle here, but we'll work with it. And you'll notice I'm using a large brush. I'm trying to cover a large area. And it's not a terrible brush. It does flatten out a little bit more than I would like. If it held a little bit more of a tip, it wouldn't be too bad. But it does all right. For what we're doing here, it's going to be okay. And you can always go back and touch up. That's the other thing. It's just paint. Don't worry about it. If you get a little bit out of line, it's not quite like a coloring book that you did when you were a kid. Although I'll tell you, after seeing the entrance at the Nova Open in the apprentice categories, I'll tell you what, folks, I don't know what I'm even doing anymore. Do I even deserve to have a web presence? Oh, that stuff is so good looking. And that's the apprenticeship. That's the apprentice category. Basically, what the apprentice category is if you've never been in a painting competition before, and I have put one thing in a painting competition a couple of years ago, but I don't know if I even count that as being in a competition. It just wasn't. It wasn't really well organized. It was kind of a last minute sort of a thing, so I don't even count that. It was at Adepticon, and there was some faffery that kind of kept the usual sponsor from sponsoring it that year. And so somebody else sponsored it, and it was very last second. So I almost don't really, it's hard to count that. Then I was in a speed painting competition where we had 6 hours to complete a piece. But I don't really consider that a true painting competition. in that it was a speed paint competition from the beginning. So if I were to enter, I think I would have to enter as a, like, if I really wanted to get technical, probably would be entering as a journeyman, but I think as apprentice would probably be about right. Because I haven't really competed at any level to speak of. Although, I will say this. I'm getting the parts together for a diorama for the Worthy. Now, whether I'm going to finish it by Adepticon next year, that's a whole nother question right there. So purple's looking pretty good against the blue. Let's darken that up a little bit. Throw a couple of licks on there. And then we'll do some blue-white gradients from the purple back to the lighter blues. But yeah, if you're not doing much on a Tuesday night, you should start your Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Time watching Build Paint Play with my pals Dave Taylor and Jake Krajewski, two veterans of the hobby industry that have a lot of really interesting takes on things. They interview some very interesting people, as far as like, art competition coordinators and art competition coordinators and which is who they actually interviewed tonight, were the people that are in charge of the Nova Open Capital Palette competition, which, again, looking at the pictures from the apprentice level competition, sheesh, I'll tell you what, I think if I entered into the Youngblood side, I might have a chance, but probably not. The Youth Hammer side, yeah, probably not. Some 12-year-old would definitely outpaint me, I believe. So I'm just painting these wings purple, and then I'm going to go up, I'm going to layer up from purple to a dark blue to a light blue out to the edges, I think. So can't see much, I know, because my lighting is really dumb right now. I was going to do a lot of things this weekend, but man, I was just so pooped. I was just pooped. I really didn't do anything this weekend. So, anyhow, I'm getting a lot of shadow here because stupid light. There we go. See, the problem is when you're broadcasting and when you're doing live streams, you got to have light so you can see, but you got to have light so other people can see. Just painting the wings here, nothing real fancy. Again, using a bigger brush to cover up a lot of, got to cover a lot of territory here. Don't want to cover detail, so I'm actually fairly thin with my paints. So, there's that. But it is a difficult figure to paint in that the pose is very unfriendly to reaching all of the spots here. So, not the greatest. I don't know if this is going to be as good as the Etten was, unfortunately. I hate to say that. I think the Etten was just really peak. But I used some methods on the Etten that I don't think I can really use here on this blue dragon, unfortunately. So, but we go from 9 to 11 tonight. The reason why I go from 9 to 11 on Tuesday nights is because at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, and if you're watching me on YouTube, it's a short hop and a skip and a jump over there. Check out my friends at Build Paint Play. Please give them a follow. Give them a like. If you're interested in the miniatures hobby, if you're interested in the convention scene, if you're interested in the people that make the hobby what it is, and some of the movers and the shakers, some of the industry people. I've been an industry watcher for a long time, so it appeals to me. But if you know, I think that it's important to know who is making your toys. Because they're people too. And they're artisans and craftsmen. They have an idea of something that they want to bring into the world. And I think that if you know them, you might be apt to support them. Just like this channel. If you are watching, if you'd like to support me here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you really want to support me, come over to Twitch and get in on some of the drawings that I do. That's drawings from time to time. I like to do drawings when I hit milestones. We're not too far away from 400 over on Twitch, so come on over and reap the rewards of membership. And if you are a subscriber, if you help support my channel, you are in the running for the Monster of the Month perk. The monthly monster. Sorry, somebody else has a Monster of the Month, but this is a monthly monster perk. So this month is the, well, actually it was last month is the Blue Dragon, but things are a little slow sometimes because I get a little bit behind because I go to conventions and I do a lot of hobby outreach work, so to speak. So Yeah, I'm a little bit behind on my monthly monsters, and this one has been a particular challenge to paint up. So it's not going to be perfect, I think, unfortunately. It's going to be pretty good, though. I think you're going to really enjoy it. All right, so the purple wings are done. So the purple wings are done. So now I think I'll start on his mouth a little bit. We'll get a little bit of pink going in on the mouth. He's got red in his mouth right now. So I think actually instead of pink in his mouth, I think we should do maybe some orange, maybe a lighter red. So I don't know, what red did I use last time? Let's use a bluish red. It's a bright red. This is the Reaper. This is the Reaper Holly Berry. So the red I used last time was Fresh Blood. So that's what I've got in his mouth right now. So that's very, very bright red, sort of. This is a little bit more orangey red. So we're going from a darker red, a little more blue base, to a little more yellow base. So we'll do that. And we'll just do some work in this guy's mouth. And mostly what's going to be paying attention to is his tongue. So we're going to use some Reaper Holly Berry. This is one of their Christmas colors that they bring out each year. Or a reasonable facsimile of it. So a little Holly Berry, not to be confused with the actress Halle Berry, right? Although I'm sure it is a play on her name a bit. So that's 9687 Holly Berry. It's a seasonal color from Reaper. So I'm going to get a long brush with some long bristles. And I'm going to pick up a little bit. And I'm going to work it right in here. I don't know what I'm doing, folks. I'm just throwing some paint in here just to see what happens. And that's a great thing about this hobby. There really are no rules. There will be people that will disrespect you and tell you you're doing it wrong. And arguably there are some things that are important to keep in mind, okay? But there's really no wrong way to do it. The only wrong way to do this hobby is to not get your paint on some plastic. Get those beautiful colors on those hordes of gray little goblins and get them some color. Put some life into them. Now I'm going to use a little bit of pink, and I'm going to do a little wet blending inside that mouth. So hopefully I can get this out of the bottle before it it's not very well mixed, but that's okay. Before it dries up. So we'll take a little bit of this. We may add a little bit of purple into that pink as well. Let's pick up some red. See where that takes us. Alright, so that's an interesting color. It's kind of a reddish, brownish purple, which is okay. Like I said, this is very interesting. We're just taking things to a really weird place. Gonna let the paint talk to us. We're gonna let the paint do its thing as we go along here. Leave the mouth a little bit darker. Maybe focus on that tongue. That's a nice focal point, really. So let the red kind of be more of a shade. Give a little bit of that that jaw work like you would have on a lizard. Right, that jaw membrane right there. And then maybe come down here and just give a little bit of gum action here to the outside of his mouth where his teeth are showing through here. We'll see what happens there. Maybe a little bit of purple there just to kind of, let's just blend a little purple in there. Just more towards that blue. Take that pink towards that blue, and then we'll take a little bit of blue and maybe blend that in too. So, a little pink right here. And we'll pick up a little of that purple. And we'll just blend her right up. Do some really fun, weird things here. What do you say? And then we'll go back. And we'll get some blue. So we'll use good old electric blue. Not really well mixed there, but that's okay. We'll get it. We'll get it. So it's a little on the thick side. Let's add a little bit of water just to get it to flow a little bit better. Maybe even pick up a little bit of that pink. So we'll edge more towards that purple right there. Yeah, we'll just kind of kick off towards that purple a little bit. And then we'll just hit that with a little bit of blue. Pick up a little bit of that electric blue that we did that dry brush with. And just let that blend naturally. Put it over top. And just let it kind of do its thing. Yeah. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. Let's do a little bit of that coloration around his eyes. Let's get a little of that purpley blue around his eyes there. What do you say? That's kind of interesting. Give it a little bit more. Maybe that's maybe that's where his skin's a little thinner. Yeah, so maybe you'd see a little bit more blood interacting with the tone of his skin there. Yeah, it's not a bad idea, I think. We'll take a little bit of that electric blue. Brighten her up just a little bit right there. Maybe we'll take a little bit of Ice Storm too and just do little highlights. But that might be happening maybe more towards the end. So I may do a shorter video tonight just because it is late. I am tired. So, all right. Pretty cool. Now I'll take a little bit of straight up pink right here. Pick up a little bit of the purple. I don't want to take it towards the red, so we added a little bit of red there. Take a little bit of that purple, and we'll just bring it around to the front end of this tongue here. I want to make it look like this guy's got some, I don't want to say issues, but we want the dragon's tongues to look to look. I want to make their the tongue of a dragon look a little bit more of a focal point, maybe poisonous, sort of, you know. But at the same time, I think if we add a little white into the pink, now this is going to desaturate the pink a little bit more. Generally, I would use ivory, but I think this is going to be pretty cool. So we're going to do this. We're going to add it into the pink a little bit, and then we're going to let that. We're going to let it desaturate a little bit, and then we'll just mix that. Let that kind of wet blend in there. And we'll add a little bit more. A little more to the white. Just a dab of water just to keep it wet. And then we'll just let it blend a little bit out this way. Right to the very tippy tip. Yeah. Yeah. Alright. So we'll just let that wet blend on that tongue a little bit. And maybe we'll just kind of, not really dry brush, but just kind of let it do a little thing right there. Then maybe a touch of that pink right there on these muscles. Right here. Just to give a little variation and to match, kind of match the purple on the wings a little bit. Hey Otto, how's it going tonight? Good to see you. Been working on a house out your way last couple of weeks. Well, last week and today. So how's your mom getting along? Heard she had a pretty nasty spill. I will. You weren't home this afternoon when I got off, or else I would have. So, but the one thing I do know is the gas station down your road has pretty decent pizza. So, and I know you are the pizza monster. So, all right, very cool. Oh, I may call it a night here in the next 20 minutes or so. It's just a long day today, folks. Just a long day. Can't say much about it other than it was just a long day. All right, so these fans underneath his ears here, I'm going to go ahead and match his wings with purple. So we'll go ahead and do that. Tibial plateau fracture surgery will be Friday. Wow, they're holding off for a long time on that, huh? Oof. Yeah, well, I gotta keep her in mind. I will definitely do that. If y'all need anything, holler at me. Not that far away. So bad inflammation. Ah, well, that would do it. That would do it. Yeah. Yep. Well, see, if she had wings like a dragon, she wouldn't have slipped and fallen. She could just flown down there. Oh yeah, you know, we always pull together on that kind of thing, right? So, Otto is on the YouTube as well. Greetings, greetings. All right, so purple on these. Anything that's a membrane, I think I'm going purple with. Kind of adds to those cold colors. I warmed up some of that purple a little bit with the pink and the red there. And just right underneath the eyes. Anywhere the blood could be closer to the surface. I'm just kind of doing that. That's more of a glaze right there. Glaze wash somewhere in between there. Just to kind of help pick out the eyes a little bit, give some variations. So, I don't really know where this figure is going to go, quite honestly. As far as the Wingling DLC to prevent a fall, but nobody listens to me. I'm going to get a better brush. This brush I was just using so I could reach it. Reach there. So I'm going to get a little bit. Get one of my favorite number 2s. Number 2 brush from, what is this? Robert Simmons watercolor. Cheap 75-cent brush from Hobby Lobby. Not much of a barrel, but it does what I need it to do. It holds a nice shape. And sometimes you got to choose between a big fat barrel and a nice shape. So we'll see how that works out. So Otto, don't forget, if you're over on the YouTube, don't forget to throw a like, share, subscribe. Something people always forget in live streams is to do a like on those live streams. What it is it's not so much that the algorithm pushes you out there just so anybody can see, but also really it pushes more towards people that want to see more of what you've got. I've been listening to a lot of technical talk about how the YouTube algorithm works, and it's kind of interesting. First of all, regularity helps. So make sure and eat your fiber. Maybe that's not what they mean. But regularity, and then of course finding your niche. Well, live streams, it's kind of hard to find niches, but the discoverability might be good, might be better. I don't know. Nobody's looking for me though, that's for sure. Yeah, the dragon is coming along nicely. Thanks, Otto. I think so. I think so. So Saturday I went down to Smith's in Grayson, and they had a clearance sale on some stuff. So I got another dragon for the monthly monster. It's a green dragon and it's in a flying pose, so it's going to be a lot easier to paint. That's for sure. So, yeah, I think it's coming along nicely. Just little bits to do here and there. I've got to clean up some of this weird paint that got out of control when I was painting past it. I think most of the claws look pretty good. I mean, it is what it is. Sometimes all you can do is what you can do, you know. And then it doesn't stand up. My the best brew is from the Green Dragon, right? I knew you were going to say that. I was waiting for it. But the brew that is true is from the Green Dragon. So reach in there, and I found a spot that was not covered. So that's the problem with this particular piece is, first of all, I've only got one light here, and it's really killing. It's really just really harsh with shadows. The other thing is I keep on finding places that I did not get paint on. Although I'm starting to get out of that particular problem. Or best ale, rather. True. Alright, so a little wet blending with the blue and the... So I need a dark blue. Let's use this. So let's use dark Prussian blue. I'm going to get some dark Prussian blue from Vallejo Model Color 70899 dark Prussian blue. Right here, dark Prussian blue. And here's the purple. And what I want to do is I want to try to wet blend these together. I'm going to use a bigger brush, I think. Or two brushes, really. So I'm going to use this big fat brush that I used earlier. Maybe clean my brush between them. But, so take a little bit of this purple, put it up here as a wet blend, as wet as I can. Add a couple of drops of Merlin's Magic Medium. Can't hurt, right? So we're going to do it one section at a time. Clean out my brush. The brew that is true comes from the Green Dragon. And we're going to use a little bit of this here. We're going to put that darker Prussian blue there. And we're going to bring that purple down to meet it. I'm going to bring the blue up to meet that. Add a little more of that purple. Drag that down here. Drag that purple down. Drag that blue up. Same thing over here. I'm going to use that right there as that mid-tone already. Add a little bit of that blue there. Add a little bit of blue. Blue, blue, blue. Pick up this purple. Really strong purple. Bring that down to there. We'll just let those colors blend together. Pick up this purple a little bit more right there. Oops. So wet blending is pretty messy. So we'll pick up some more purple. We'll put it right up here. We'll pick up some blue, put it right here. And we'll bring that purple on down the wing to match it into that blue. We're looking for a gradient. Is the trick is to get this to be a gradient from purple to blue. And then that blue, I want to go to a lighter blue. So I'm just going to stop it right there where I can pick up some more later on. So pick up some purple right here. Need to add some more purple to the palette. And since I've still got quite a bit of Merlin's Magic Medium in there, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But I'm going to bring that purple out here. And I'm going to bring that blue right here. This really is a messy process, but man, you got to trust in the process when you're doing this. So, add that purple in a little more. Am I getting it exactly like some of the professionals get it? No. But is it going to do what I want it to do? I hope so. Get that blending going. We'll see how that works. Hopefully the end result should be a nice gradient. Or at least a purple with some blues and some blues with some purples. So just mix that in there right on the of course that blue might be a little too strong too. So maybe if I just kind of thin her up a little bit, I don't know. So there we go. We're getting a little more in that gradient sort of area that I'm looking for. Just like that. So that's good. So this section here, add a little bit of that straight up royal purple, and then we'll just pick up a little bit of that blue right there. And then we'll mix them all together. Let me clean out my brush just a little bit because I think I'm I'm pushing paint where I don't want it to push. And we'll pick up a little purple here. And it's okay, it's just paint. We'll get a little more of a gradient going on there. Yeah. Yeah, so now we're getting a little more of a gradient. This is what I was looking for. This over here needs some more work. So I'll pick up a little bit more purple and run that back this way. So we get a little more blendiness. Blendiness, is that a word? Is that a term? I don't know. Pick up some more purple. We'll start it right there. And we'll just blend it right in as it goes. Same thing here. On this one, we'll add some purple up here. A little bit of blue. I want to work that blue back into the purple this way. And it's thin enough. It looks pretty thick right now, but as it thins down, that's mostly just water holding that off the figure. It really is quite thin. I could blow on it and probably mess it up, but you could see the bubble on that. So once the water is evaporated, it has really good lay down. Hey, Dollar, how's it going, Dylan? Just working on a little wet blending here tonight. So I'm going to add a little more purple up here at the top, just to bring that up just a smidge more. And then it'll blend nicely into that blue here. Hit that, bring that blue back this way. Not too much. So wet blending is kind of a fun technique, method, I should say. Kind of gives you a nice gradient. So that's what I'm working on. It's not going to be perfect, I'm afraid. There's a lot of more people that do much better wet blending than me. But I'm getting a pretty decent gradient right there. I don't know if it comes through. I don't know if it comes through well on the stream or not. But I'm going from purple to dark blue, and then from that dark blue I want to go to a light blue. Almost a white. So I'm doing the purple to dark blue here. I've already got it going on over here pretty well. I'm not going to worry too much about it on this wing here. I needed to touch it up over here quite a bit though. But even though it looks a little thick right now, as the water evaporates, it will settle down. That's the nice thing about the more expensive paints is they have what's called lay down. So they don't, because they're well pigmented, but they're also flow well because they're thinner than, say, the craft paints. Though you can paint figures with craft paints. Don't get me wrong. A lot of people have done some really amazing work with craft paints. So if craft paints are all a person can afford, that is just fine. So I'm going to touch this up with a darker blue here, just because that's where I wanted it to go. But because these are a little more pigment heavy, the hobby paints, the dedicated actual hobby paints, They're designed to do certain things that the craft paints just aren't designed to do. The craft paints will get color on your figures. And like I said, a lot of people have come up doing a lot of really amazing work with craft paints or even artist acrylics. So don't poo-poo artist acrylics just because they're artist acrylics. They might take a little more work to get to the point where you want to use them. For a figure, but there are people that do some really amazing work with them. Modeling paint, is that what I mean by hobby paint? Yeah, when I'm talking about hobby paints, I'm talking about things that are hobby specific, like the Vallejo paints and the Pro Acryl and Pro Acryl and Vallejo and Army Painter, all that kind of thing. Things that are purpose built for it. Now I've used acrylic craft paints like you get at Walmart, the dollar for 2 ounces or whatever it is type stuff. I've used it before, and there's a place for it, and it's actually a good way to really learn how to work with. I hate to say work with inferior products, but there's a lot of people that get downright snobbish about it, and I don't think you should ever be snobbish about paints and what people can afford or what is available in a person's area. Of course, nowadays with mail order, you can get just about anything you need or you want, so who's not on Amazon these days, right? So, but when I talk about hobby paint, I am talking more towards the purpose built paints, like what we use here on the channel for the most part. What I use here on the channel for the most part. So throw that blue on there, bring the purple down to meet it, bring it up to meet the purple. Purple down, bring the blue up, ha ha ha. Just let that blend. Just let that blend like that. So the blue and the purple will blend right in this area here. Get a little more of that purple. And it's thinned down pretty good. So, and I'm going over a purple undercoat already. So you're going to have a little bit more of that purpley purple going on as opposed to a reddish purple. And then I'm just going to take this and bring it down more to that dark blue, edge down more into that area. The wet looks on those wings is sick. Can you make it look wet permanently? Well, right now they are wet because the paint is wet. But if I wanted to, later on, I could just add gloss coat to it. So let me see if I've got some here on the desk within arm's reach. Yeah. So they make matte varnish, right? So they make matte varnish. And they also make gloss varnish. Where is it? Here it is. Hello, gloss varnish. And they also make gloss varnish. I think they make a satin varnish as well. So that's kind of right in between. But your matte varnish makes things look flat or matte, and your gloss varnish makes things look glossy. Believe it or not, it does what it says on the tin. Which, I mean, I guess that's probably a good thing. But the other thing is, sometimes if your paint looks glossy at the end, Sometimes that means that you didn't thin your paints down quite so well. But right now it's glossy because it's wet. So I may have some glossiness in these valleys here, in these texture areas, just because it's going to be a little thicker there, but I did thin it down. I really did thin it down. And you can start seeing how thin it is because you're starting, I can see where some of that purple undercoat in these areas is actually showing through that blue. So the blue was not quite as heavy, but I did get a nice mixture. There is a nice gradient going from purple to that dark blue right here. And then that dark blue, I'm going to go to a lighter blue between out in this area. So that's the plan anyway. It contrasts when the wing structure almost looks translucent. Yeah, that's kind of the point. That's kind of the point. So you see how light purple that is on the inside there? So I think because this is an area of shadow, I'm going to maybe try not to have it quite so dark underneath there. So maybe just do another coat of that purple, maybe even a lighter purple. Maybe magenta, maybe just a light overbrush of magenta underneath there. But on the top, I want it to be a little bit darker, just to maybe give sort of that translucent look. And with that gradient from light to dark, I think that will actually help a little bit of that translucent kind of batwing sort of thing going on there. That's kind of the plan. So let me just put a little bit of this dark Prussian blue here, right there. And get a little bit of water and thin that edge. We'll feather that in just a little bit. So don't be afraid to thin your paints considerably sometimes. I mean, there's thinning your paint and then there's thinning your paint, right? So if you thin it down and you're getting streaks, that's too thin. But if you thin it down and you can see the last layer underneath it, that's okay because you can always add more thin paint. 2 or 3 thin coats is better than trying to get it all in one thick coat. At least that's what I've always heard. That's what they've always said. So now I'm just using kind of a very thin, almost a glaze coat of that blue right there, just to kind of strengthen up that dark blue color right down here at the very ends. And then I'm going to kind of just feather it off. So right there, just kind of add a little water, maybe just a smidge, and just kind of mop it out and just kind of swirl it out a little. There we go. So that way we're not getting too much of a line. I'm trying to avoid a really harsh line between these colors here. That's the plan. Trying to avoid a really harsh line. I've really just only started doing a lot more with wet blending, believe it or not. It's just something that I've found when you're painting like armies and this such, or units, some of these more artistic methods are not as quick as others. So I tend to leave those aside when I have more time to do things in a more artistic way, I'm more likely to engage with the subject in a more artistic manner. So we'll put a little bit of that purple right up here. Go ahead. Not really, I don't really want to glop it on, but it's just kind of it's going to sit there a little heavier. And then I'm going to pick up some of that Prussian blue. The dark Prussian blue, and I'm going to add it right here. And I'm going to drag that into that purple and drag the purple into that. And we're going to just kind of let it fight it out right here in the middle. So gets that blend going on, right? Now I'm not getting as creamy a blend as some people can get, but it's really just something I've started to do a little bit more. Somebody kind of challenged me and said that I don't do it or can't do it, so like, well, I can do it. I just never chose to do it because it never really served my purpose. You know, sometimes the thing about it is when you're painting a figure, it's kind of important to, it sounds important. Important is too strong a word, I think. It's good to consider what the figure needs as opposed to other things. So sometimes the figure would need this kind of weird wet blending thing going on. Other times, figure might not need that, right? So it just depends. So just throwing a little wet blending out there, just trying to get a little bit more interest. That's a little bit too much. So it's got a pretty nice gradient right there, I think. So that needs to dry up before I do any more. All right, so that's pretty good. Nice work on the wings tonight, I think. Now it's not really super noticeable, I think, in the picture here. Maybe it is. I don't know. I thought about going with gray or white, but I thought that purple would be kind of a nice contrast to the yellow and the blue, you know. So I got a pink and red mouth here. We'll get the teeth later on. The purplish purple to blue is sort of that augmentative colors. So there are, let's see if I can find I've got a color wheel here somewhere. Somewhere I have it. I've had it before. Where did the color wheel go? I had a card with the color wheel on here. It was sitting here. All right, which of you monsters ate it? I blame the owlbear. I blame the owlbear. Owlbear probably ate my color wheel. I had it sitting right here. I had it right in front of me. Well, anyhow, so what I want to talk about is, so you've got what's called the complementary colors, right? Which are like your red versus your blue, your green versus your yellow, although green and yellow kind of are next to each other in some cases. So green and red are against each other, blue and red are against each other. Things that work against each other are actually called complementary colors. Very strange that they would call them complementary colors, even though they're working against each other. So, but this is blue and purple. Now, purple can go two ways. Purple can go very warm, being closer to a red. So let me just get an ugly brush here. We'll get an ugly brush and do this. So you'll see here I've got a little red here. So purple can go more towards red, and this purple tends to want to go towards red. Actually, this is a royal purple. So this is, I think this was formulated by Vince Venturella to actually be more of a neutral purple. So I can mix in, notice I can mix in that red and take that purple towards red and get more of a vermilion color, right? Almost even a brownish red. Almost a dried blood color. Also, I can bring it up. I can add a little more and gradiate out of purple to that red. Right? Okay. Or I can take that purple and mix in blue and have a very cold purple. So that purple can go more towards blue. That way. And go deeper purple. So there you go to the colder, and this you go to the lighter. So add a little bit of that. Well, my brush wasn't quite clean of the purple, of the blue there, so. But you can see how the purple goes more towards red. Now this is still purple right here, this area. That's still purple, but it's more of a reddish, it's a very red purple right there, okay? But this right here is a very blue purple. So purple's one of those colors that can go towards red, and if it goes towards red, it's considered warm. If it goes towards blue, it's considered cold. So whites, blues, grays, silver, that's considered those are kind of your colder colors, right? Turquoise a cooler color, right? White blue, that would be a cooler color. Sure. Sky blue, a cooler color. This is ultramarine blue, which is a very, again, you might consider this a warm blue. You might consider it a cool blue. It just depends on what colors you're going to use it next to and what colors you're trying to contrast it to. This is Louise Sugden's Rogue Hobbies signature set. And it is absolutely amazing. If you only got those 6 colors out of her set, you could, if you so desired, you could actually mix all the colors you needed out of it because she uses all those basic colors in that set. It was a set that I think was very much needed. It's a very artistically based set. But this blue, this ultramarine blue, it could go to a warm blue. It could go towards a colder blue. It's a very neutral blue. Just like this purple, this royal purple, it's a very neutral purple. So when I say neutral, I mean that it doesn't really pick up. It's not really edging towards the blue side. It's not really edging towards the red side. It just depends on what you mix into it, or the environment that you're putting it into. So I don't know if any of that makes sense, but that's how I understand the colors. Um, I'm sure more artistically educated people are probably having a seizure right now, but you know, that's the way I understand it. But I think that is the thing, though, is because I'm taking that neutral purple towards that darker blue, which that darker blue, the dark Prussia blue from Vallejo Model Colors, 70.899, dark Prussian blue. It feels like it has a little bit more warmth than cool to it. So, because it kind of edges back more towards that purple. So it's moving towards purple, but the purple's moving towards it. So it's moving towards purple. It wants to go towards red. The purple that's moving towards that is trying to go cold. So those two colors together are getting this gradient right here. Anyhow, I'm probably completely wrong. That's probably all Dunning-Kruger stuff, right? Oh, you're wrong. I wonder how many comments I'm going to have tomorrow of all two people that have watched the YouTube the YouTube broadcast, YouTube side of things. So, but it does contrast with the wing structure, and that was kind of the main point. I was thinking about going with gray to white, but gray to white I think would be too close to the actual primer color that was on here already. And while it would work, I think the purple to dark blue to light blue is going to be a much better gradient, a much better idea. So, I don't know. I might not. I kind of like it. I don't know if I'm even going to take it towards the lighter blue. You know, I may just go dark purple to mid purple to dark blue. You know. So anyhow, it's pretty well dried up at this point. It's still a little wet down in the crevices, so I think I'll let that be where it is. And it was a long day. I got up at 4:45 this morning, so I'm starting to feel it. I know I generally try to go to 11, but I've done a lot of good work here this evening. I think I'm going to call it an evening, if that's all right with everybody. So set this out of here, out of the way, so it doesn't knock things over. I think I'm going to bid an adieu and a good night to everyone. Hey, Midril. Hey, thanks for the lurk. I appreciate that. So, anyhow, that's what I've been working on. Appreciate you. Hey, folks, if you want somebody else to follow who's actually a really good painter and has really applied, quite honestly, here's what I want to say about Midril. I've watched his stream a couple of times, and he hasn't painted as long as I have. That sounds bad. But what I mean is he's really only painted for the last few years, but he's really applied himself. So, in some ways, some of what he's doing on his paint jobs is even better than what I'm doing on my paint jobs. Or at least the things I'm trying to do. I don't know if I'm getting there. But check out Midril. We're going to give old Midril a shout out here. So, give Midril a follow. We're going to shout out Midril here. Give Midril a follow. If you're not following him, you need to be following him. He's got some really good skills, and quite honestly, you can learn a lot from him. Look at his right now. I think he's working on Are you working on Kroot right now, Midrill? I can't remember. I watched somebody else the other night that was working on Kroot. You were working on Kroot, and then I think you were working on something else the other night. I can't, forgive me, I can't remember. But the Kroot were, oh, gargoyles. Gargoyles. Okay, that's what it was. So the other night you had you were working on the Tyrannid gargoyles. And your highlights are looking amazing on them, by the way. I mean, you got a nice base coat. You're getting some gradients there. You get some good highlights on them. And he's painting them up in green, I think, right? Which you don't see a lot of Tyrannids in green. But check out Midrill. Check out his projects. Give him a follow. So, anyhow, let's see what I got here. So I'm going to turn off the live stream to the YouTube. I'm going to go over here. We're going to fade out to the title screen. YouTube. Good night to YouTube. And let's see. Good night to YouTube.